Hey guys, Michael here. So I'm back again to talk about the xTool M1. Only this time we're going to look at it from a different angle. We're going to look at the software side of it. Let's get to it. Alright, here we go. So I'm on my laptop here and I have the xTool Creative Space. This is the beta version running. So let me click on it to open it. And this is what the Creative Space tool looks like. We'll just take a tour of this thing real quick just to give everybody a heads up. So it's connection failed. It's trying to connect to my my M1, but I don't have it turned on yet. So over here in the settings, top left, you have General, Update Software, and About. These do not do anything right now because they're all right here on one screen. So if you click these, it's not changing anything. You have the ability to change from millimeters to inches. I have mine in inches, and what that does is up here in the top right, if you can see that position, size, and everything, if you switch it, it changes off to the right. You can select your language, and I'm not sure if they're going to have more languages available. It has the software version. This is the software version I have, and this is the updates section, and you can check for updates. I already had the latest version of the updates, so that does me no good. And this is about the software. Underneath File, you have the ability to save this particular project, open an existing project, or do a save as. If you have a project open and you want to save a copy of it, you can do save as. On the left hand side, we have import. That's if I want to import an image or something onto the screen. If I pick import, there's my bunny that I did for my macaroons. There is my logo. So if I want to import the bunny, I select it and hit open. So it took a second, but it imported it. As you can see, it's huge compared to this grid. So you can zoom out by coming over to the right, which is, again, I've noticed this, said this in the video before. There's more information on the top right. If you highlight or hover over this spot and grab it and drag it, you can see the zoom. But you can hit the plus and the minus to see more. Or you can hold down your control on your keyboard and use your mouse wheel zooming in and out. And that's how I'm going to do it from now on in this demonstration. I'm holding down the control key while scrolling the mouse wheel up and down to zoom in and out. So if I zoom out, I want to resize this bunny to fit my grid. All you have to do is select the bunny and grab these grab points on here. If you grab the corner, it will click and drag, it will keep the ratio of the bunny the same. If you click on one of the sides or the top or the bottom in the middle, it will actually distort it. And I don't want to do that, so let me undo my changes. So you can either undo by coming up to the top, sliding this over and hitting undo, or I can do Control Z on the keyboard. That's Z as in zebra. So that's what I'm going to do from now on. I can Control C for copy, Control Z for undo, Control V for paste. Those are just standard Windows commands. So let me make this bunny shorter or smaller. I can drag him, or I can come up here at the top and actually set the size I want it to be. I want him to be exactly 5 inches tall. Again, I'm in inches on this thing. So if I select him and hit 5 and hit enter, well, I don't even have to hit enter, you just type 5 and it'll make a jump to 5 inches. Hold down Control and scroll with your mouse wheel and you can zoom in, and he is, you can see out to the side, he's from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's 5 inches tall and it looks like he's a little over 4 inches wide, and sure enough 4.07. You can actually make him 4 by 5 if you want by clicking on him, which is activating him. You see this lock button right here? If you click the lock, it makes it to where you can adjust it both width and height independently. So I'm going to take this out. So now he's actually 4 by 5. But if I want to lock him at that position from now on, I can hit the lock button and that ratio won't change now. He's always a 4 by 5 ratio. Alright, so we have the bunny. Let's insert a circle. So again, when I showed in the other videos, this has a shape and an insert. Alright, so that's how to use the import feature. So now further down the left hand side we have insert and we have shape. I'm not sure why they have these shapes underneath the insert and not just inside the shapes. I come from a Cricut Maker background and it's all underneath a single spot, I believe. But that's okay. Let me insert a line, and when you click that, it turns into a crosshair, and that allows you to click and hold, and you can drag. If you hold down the shift key without letting go of the mouse, if you hold down the shift key, nothing happens. Hold down the control key, nothing happens. So I'm not sure how to make that a locked horizontal line. You may not be able to do that. Let me just drag it, let go. Yeah, so I can't make that a horizontal line. That may change in the software. I may make a note of that. Let me get rid of that, and let's say I want to insert a rectangle. So I click that and rectangle. I can drag a rectangle. I can change the size of that rectangle by typing this in. Right now it's unlocked, so it's kind of free between the width and the height. So let's make it a square all of a sudden. So let's make it a 4 by 4. Now it's a square. It's 4 inches by 4 inches. Same thing with all these shapes. You can click on the shape and you can scroll down here and see these different shapes. They have all kinds of crazy looking stuff. Looks like some gears and stuff you can add. If you just want to add a heart, which I did before in my other video, click the heart and there's your heart. You want to make a copy of that heart, you can either come over here and say shape and add another heart, or you can right click it, or you can click it and control C on your keyboard. So let's copy it and let's paste it, or I can do control V and there's another one. So let me get rid of one by right clicking it and deleting it, or selecting it and hit delete key on the keyboard. Now let's say I want these hearts to be centered with each other, but two different sizes. So I'm going to click one and make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to move the bunny away, so I'm just clicking on him and I'm dragging him out of the way. So let's put these hearts on top of each other. So you have the ability to eyeball it and try to guess where it's going to be. I'm not sure if you see that, but see those bold lines? Those bold lines are telling you that it's actually at the center, so they line up that way. So you can do it this way with the mouse, or if you click and drag and select more than one item, with them selected, you can come over here to align, and you have the ability to align left, which makes them line up to the left. You can hit align right, and they line up to the right. Line top, middle, bottom, but I want the center, so I'm going to go back to center. Oh, you know what? I needed to align middle. Sorry. Middle makes them actually center, top, and bottom. So there we go. That's how I did my heart whenever I was doing the cutting on the two different hearts. Text is the exact same method. You click on text, except this one doesn't turn into a crosshair. You just know it's actually selected. When you click here and let go, I didn't even click and drag. I just clicked and it drops text instantly. The text is hello. You can change the text up here in the box. Let's see, xTool M1, and you can change the size of it here, or you can change the size of it by dragging it. But it doesn't change the size of it, so the font size is still the font size. So I'm not sure what the relationship is with that. Most of the time when I'm making something, I'm going to really depend on the width and height of it to meet a certain requirement or a certain object. You also had the ability to change the font. They don't have a lot of fonts here yet. That's coming in future versions. So you have a minimal amounts of font that you can choose, and then you also control the spacing. The spacing is the spacing in between the letters. And let me see if I can change that to it. Let's make it a 5. Let's make it more drastic. So I don't know if you saw that, but the letters are actually spread out a little bit more. If I change it back to 0 and make it a little bit tighter. So that does change the width of those. I made it 10, so it does stretch them out a little bit. Alright, so that's adding font in there. Now, vector. I'm not going to pretend to know what vector is. It's a laser engraving thing, I don't know that one yet, so I'm gonna leave that one alone. Extract, I don't know what that one is. I'm gonna leave that one alone too, so I'm gonna leave that to the experts out there that knows what those are. Down here at the bottom left, so on this drawing, I'm using my mouse wheel up and down, and I can move this up and down the whole screen. If I want to zoom in and out, I hold down Control, again, the same mouse wheel. But if I get this thing kind of weird, and it's like, oh man, how do I get this back over here where I had it originally? All you do is come over here, instead of on the selection, you go to Hand, and then you click and drag, and you can actually move it where you want it to be on the screen. So I'm going to hold down Control, mouse wheel it in. No, I can't do that because I'm not on Select. I don't know if they're going to fix that in different versions, but I have to change the Select, zoom in, go back to Hand, and I can click and drag and move it to where I can actually see my project a little bit better. So that's a little bit of an annoyance, having to switch between that to zoom, but that's how you work around that. Now at the top, these different buttons actually, well, let me go back to position real quick. So position is the position of this object is actually on the canvas. Again, I'm trying to select it, but I can't because I'm not in select mode. Let me go to select mode. These at the top, they activate when you click different items here. So I'm going to click the square, and I can change position. That's important when you're actually lining things up on your canvas a certain way to meet certain requirements. And the X dimension is the left right, the Y dimension is the top bottom dimension. So if I change this to 0, this is going to move all the way to the top of that canvas there. So let me take this out, backspace, and now it's up to the 0. If I want this at the 5-inch mark instead of the 8.1, I can take that and put 5, and there you go. So it's at 5 and 0, and this is that top left corner. All of these are done the same way. The bunny, if I want it at 5 and 0, I would do the same thing. So I can hit 0 here and 5 here. And as you can see here, it actually lines up with the square, both of them in that top left corner. So it doesn't use the bunny drawing itself, it uses the extents, or the farthest point away from that meets that box around that object. Same thing with the heart. It's that point in the top left point that this position is talking about. Alright, so again, these at the top, they appear or become available whenever you select certain items. Now this one, the only thing I can do is I can arrange it, I can send it front and back. That's if you're trying to get certain objects on top of one another. If I had a solid object, let me import another item. Give it a second to import. There we go. So let's say I want the bunny on top of my logo. I select the bunny, and I can say bring to front, or bring forward, or send backward. You know, you can make it change layers. Like imagine a stack of paper, and you want to bring, this is a piece of paper underneath this piece of paper. So if you want to bring this one up, you can highlight it and say I want to bring to the front, or bring it forward. Bring it forward brings it above the next sheet of paper. Bring to the front brings it to the pile of paper that you have stacked on top of each other. So I bring it on front, and now it's actually on top of the bunny, on top of the Monkey Woodworks logo. So if I click right here, I think I'm clicking on the Monkey Woodworks logo, but it's not. It's selecting the bunny because the bunny is on top. Now if I take that and let's say send it backwards, now I'm going to send it to the back all the way down. So if I click it, click off of there and try to click in the exact same spot, when I click it, now it's picking the Monkey Woodworks logo because this one, this sheet of paper is on top of that sheet of paper. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with multiple images on top of each other. That just imagine them being sheets of paper on top of each other, and sometimes you have to send them forward or backwards if you can't select the item you want to select. Alright, let me move him out of the way, and let me show you something else you can do. So let's select two items. So now I'm going to highlight or select over here and drag and let go. So now I have two hearts selected. So if you notice, I actually have now the ability to say combine. if you pick this, you have different options. So unite makes them a single unit. Subtract, it takes one unit away from the other. Unite at overlap, and subtract at overlap. So let me show you each of those on two hearts that are offset from each other. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit, and let me select my hand and move down a little bit to see it a little bit better. Alright, so I'm going to select them, click and drag, let go, and then we're going to go with the combined stuff. So let's say unite. So what that's going to do is make this little line and this little line disappear and turn them into a single piece. Unite. There you go. See, now it's a single piece. If I want to undo that, I can hit Control Z on my keyboard or undo. And select them again. Let's see what subtract does. Subtract took the big heart away from the little heart. Now, why did it take the big one away from the little one? I think it's because the big one is on top of the little one. Let's test that theory and put the little one on top of that. So remember, to do that, I have to go to arrangement. I'm going to say bring to front. So now the little one is on top of the big one. Let me select all these and say combine, subtract. So you see that the top one is the cutter of the bottom one. So let me undo that. So keep that in mind when you play with the combines of the subtract. So let's see what happens on the next one. Combine, unite at overlap. So what's going to happen is anything in between, see that gray area, that's the parts that's going to stay. So the only thing that's going to stay is this little oval right here. So let's try it. Unite at overlap. There you go. So that's the only thing that stayed, is what was in between the two pieces when you at the overlap. Let me undo that. The last combine option is subtract at overlap. I have not figured that one out. Alright, so we've gone through alignment, the arrangement, and combining. What's next? So reflect is just literally mirroring something. So you have the ability to mirror it horizontally or vertically. So let me pick vertical, and now it's upside down, and flip it back, and one more time. A grid array is they're going to be one after another, however many horizontal you want and how many vertical, and it's going to fill that with that number. So let's say I want to do a grid array. It's going to say how many columns and how many rows. So let's do a 2 by 2. If you say OK, so there's 1, 2, and 1, 2. If you want to do, let me undo that, and let's do create array grid. Let's do 4. Well, 4 by 2. So it's going to be 4 horizontal and 2 vertical. So there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. So that's how you do the create array on the grid. So the next array is a little bit harder to describe. I'll let someone else be able to do that for you, because I have a hard time even wrapping my head around this. I do know that I can make this a little bit bigger. Let's say 6. You can actually see it in the background. So you can see the hearts. It's making a circle. If you do rotate objects, the hearts always point to the center. As you can see, let me make this a little bit bigger. Let me make it 8. There you go. So now you can see the hearts. All the bottoms of the hearts are pointing to the center. If you uncheck this, they all point the same direction as if they were on the original selection. So this is how many hearts are in the circle or in the array. This is how far the array goes around based on a 360-degree circle. So the first heart was right here, and it's at 360, so the hearts are going to come all the way around to the top. If I put that halfway, let's say 180, now it's only down to the bottom, so it's from the top all the way down to the bottom. The number of copies are still 8, so that's why the hearts are closer to each other. If I reduce this number, the hearts will actually spread out. If I increase the number, the hearts will get closer, because now it's fitting 11 copies of the hearts in this array right here. I'm not 100% sure what the X and Y is. I think it's the diameter of the circle, but I could be wrong. The step automatically adjusts. That is the degrees in between each heart, so you really don't have to mess with that. If you know how many hearts you want to do, you can just adjust this, and the step automatically adjusts accordingly. So I say okay. So there's my array of 180 degrees with 8 different hearts. All right, so the last thing I want to go over with you before I show you the smart fill is the bottom right of the different options you have. So let me select my heart, and right now it's set to score. If you jump over here and set it to cut, the color of the heart changes. So that way you can tell what's going to be a score and what's going to be a cut, or what's going to be an engrave, just by looking at the screen. Now, I'm not going to tell you what color these are. I'm colorblind, so I don't know. But trust me, they're two different colors. Let me copy this and put this on, oops, and paste it right here. And let's change this one to engrave. If I put my logo back in there, it automatically, once it pops in here, it automatically goes to an engrave because it's an image file. So on any object you actually insert, you had the ability to edit the image, and that's why you see this thing pop up. If you click off of it, that goes away. So if you click on it, you can hit edit image. It actually allows you to modify the image, and you can erase a part of the image, you can crop out a part of the image, or you can use the magic wand to select different parts and do something with that part you're selecting. Okay, so lastly, let me show you this smart fill. Pretend these are the macaroons that I had in my previous video. I wish I had known this feature before, but now I do, so that's good. So let me import my bunny again. And these are just pieces of paper laid inside of the M1. So let me make this bunny smaller so it will fit on one of my paper cookies. Let me zoom out and make them a lot smaller. Zoom back in and make him fit on my cookie. Alright, so I have him fitted on my cookie. And let me use this hand tool to kind of move this around where you can see a little better and zoom in a little bit better. Okay, so let's pretend these are cookies, and I have my one object selected on the cookie, or centered on the cookie where I want it to go. As you can see here, smart fill is actually highlighted. So check this out. I'm going to select it and pick smart fill. Boom, look at that. It actually looks at the items in the M1 and puts that same object on all the pieces. How cool is that? So I'm going to go a step further and see if I can do something. Let me zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to add text. I don't know if text can be smart filled. Let me change that to an MW for the Monkey Woodworks. Alright, let me make it smaller. And let me set it to engrave. Alright, let me zoom out. Make this a little bit easier to see. Pan it over here. Zoom in a little bit more. Alright, so now I have my MW on top of the bunny. Let me select the MW and pick smart fill, and let's see if it shows up on all the bunnies. How cool is that? So look what it actually rotates, fitting the exact same way this one is set up. If I had known that for the macaroons, man, that would have made my life so much easier on that. Well, there you go. That's what I know about the software, the beta version of the software on the M1. It's going to change as they move along and progress newer versions. This may be totally different when it actually comes out in production. Hopefully this video helps someone out there. Those of you just now getting started with the M1 or about to receive the M1, hopefully it helps someone out. I appreciate all of you following along and my journey learning the xTool M1. Again, I appreciate all the comments and everything. I read every comment. I try to respond to them. Thanks everybody. I'll see you next time.